Right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the session 2 of the day 2 for the International Youth Conference 8. And this is a session on the youth engagement and COP28. And you're going to hear from the speakers who have attended so many talks, the Conference of Party that's on climate change. And you can, if you have any questions, how to get engaged, all of them are going to be at COP28. So definitely they can help you out with that. And I would like to introduce Aislinn to you. She just arrived yesterday from the United Kingdom, and she'll be your moderator. And she is actually a sustainability champion and a coach, and happen to be a really, really good TED speaker. Rest, I will leave to Aislinn to lead the session and introduce herself. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you everyone for arriving today and everyone online. So it's amazing to be here in New York. Like I said, I arrived in yesterday, and our panel also come in from all over the world. So it's incredible to be here. So I'm going to, hand over to our incredible panel, but really it's about the audience today, because this is the COP28 panel. So everyone at home and all over the world and everyone here, this is our chance to ask all the COP28 questions. Our panel is literally incredible, and no question is too big or too small. So I went to my first COP, it was COP26. I was a student at the time, and I just showed up. I had no money, and it was an absolute nightmare. That's the truth. It was really, really challenging. And I went to COP27 last year, and I will be at COP28 this year. And it's about asking any questions, and I have access here so we can answer any questions. No question is too big or too small. But firstly, I'm going to hand over to our incredible panel. So I'm going to start with you, Anne. Give us the lowdown on hackathons and everything, and just how you're here today. I know you're in from Sweden.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, and great to be at this youth conference, because as you said, you are the future, and of course the ones who will be creating it. So happy to be here. My name is Anne Molin, and I'm the founder and secretary general of the Hack for Earth Foundation. And we do global hackathons to create real action on the SDGs. So for the COP28, we're doing an online global hackathon, and anybody can join. It's not only for tech people. So if you have a passion for creating real change on climate change, you can join. And we take care of the winning solutions in our own acceleration program. So this is your chance to create real action on climate change. So I'm really happy to be here to introduce this opportunity to you and hear what you think about it.
And I always find that speakers are always very humble. But Anne's incredible. She used to work with the Swedish government, creating hackathons, so how we actually drive change. And now she has her own kind of business and not-for-profit, which is going to be launching, is going to have something at COP28 as well. So we'll be hearing more from her. And Dr. Miro, I'll hand over to you next.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure being with you here during UN General Assembly High-Level Week, Climate Week, New York. It's really a very dynamic place, and great to be in the company of such great people. So my name is Miroslav Polzer. I'm the founder and CEO of IAAI, and this stands for International Association for the Advancement of Innovative Approaches to Global Challenges. It's a very long name, but it's already explaining a little bit what we are doing. So, and a key message in this, the name of our organization is that the existing responses of global community to climate, to global challenges, and especially to the climate crisis, are not effective enough. And we have the United Nations system, we have the intergovernmental process, which is good and fine, but somehow we see CO2 concentration rising, even emissions in absolute numbers rising. So there's something wrong in the way we look at the crisis and how we coordinate one another. And my organization is saying, let's complement the intergovernmental process with something that engages everyone, and especially young people. So we are building Glotcha. It's an ecosystem based on 3 pillars: culture, technology, and organizational innovation. And it can be understood as some kind of United Nations 2.0 for non-state actors. And in the context now of the COP28. It's the biggest party, so to say, of the climate action community in the world. But in the end, it's not really delivering good enough results. And it's the Paris Agreement. We have worked for it. We have mobilized political decision makers and everyone. And we see there is not enough implementation of the goal. And it's also here, as we are in New York now, we've had a conference last week about co-creating the future through localization of SDGs, youth and digital innovation. And we are in this program on Sustainable Development Goals implementation since 2011.
So you've been doing it a long time.
Yes, a very long time. You see my gray beard.
And Dr. Mira's our tech guy, and
Yes.
Christine is the other extreme.
Okay. Yes.
I am.
Yeah,
But we
just-
work together.
We
yes.
work together, yeah.
Yeah.
Just a brief add-on to this is we've been in this sustainable development, innovation work together with music, the Global Youth Music Contest, and based on the Rio Plus 20 Summit, there have been the SDGs have been adopted, the Agenda 2030, and we've had now the SDG Summit this week, and we see only 15% of the SDGs have been implemented. And so my message here is that don't fix your thinking too much only on the existing UN process, SDGs, climate, COPs. We need something bigger, something new. We need innovation. And that's my message here. And young people have the creativity to think out of the box.
I love that, right? So we don't need to play to the rules that have been created
Yes.
at COP.
Yeah.
It's how do we think even bigger? And chatting to Dr. Miro, and we'll get into kind of, how COP works, and you have the blue zone and the green zone, but you've managed to get into areas that usually people don't have access to unless you're a politician, really.
Right.
But before we get into that,
Yeah.
Christina, who's here on my left, I mean, it's incredible we have her here today. She was one of the highest paid women in advertising in the US for many, many, many years, right? Incredible. And she's also an award-winning filmmaker. And she's now putting her effort and time into really accelerating the Sustainable Development Goals and doing business and life differently.
Well, I'm into waking up the private sector, civil society, because that was what I learned to do in my earlier years. And so I founded Revolution Love, because we see how the digital revolution is just exploding, but we're not going to be able to teach AI to love. We're not going to be able to teach AI to respect, to be human beings. AI will never, ever be a sentient being, but we can elevate and help the people that are asleep. They're not in the room with you because you're here for a reason. You're here because you know, all right? You are awake. And I'm here to help you, to help them wake up and take action, any little action to educate and then to know what to do. And because the minute you know a little bit more, I mean, I was here in the room earlier and there was a lot of passion about trees. And I went, oh, yes, I'm passionate about trees too. I love trees. I really do. I've made about 10 little spots on trees. And then when I say little spots, they're social media messages, because I've created those to pull people in to Revolution Love, which is a platform that will educate, but it educates in a fun way. We recommend the movies, the documentaries, the books you should read, the vlogs, the people. And this is an organization that we're going to highlight as well, because you're doing so much here, sending young people around the world. I mean, to work on sustainable solutions. It's wonderful. And so that's what we're focused on. So anyway.
And I love that these guys work together. So you've Dr. Miro, who's the tech guy,
Yes.
and then you have Christina, who's
Exactly.
elevating us into higher emotions of love, right? So it's that kind of collaboration on how we can pull together. And we do have one more seat because we may have another speaker joining us who's coming over from UN headquarters. So if he makes it, I'm going to drag him up to the front as well, so we can ask any questions, since he's actually part of the COP28 presidency. So I'm just looking at some of the questions that are coming in. And one of the first questions that's come in is, what does even COP stand for, right? We say COP. What does it even mean? I didn't even know until COP26.
And even what it stands for is a little bit odd.
Exactly.
Cooperative of parties.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So it's the climate change conference of the parties, right?
Yes.
Yes.
It's the 28th one. That's why it's going to take place. That's why it's COP28.
Yeah.
And was there a break at one point with the pandemic? Did they take a break?
Yes, 1 year
Yes.
there was a break.
There was a
Yeah.
break.
Mm.
And so how many COPs have you attended?
I've attended 10.
10 COPs.
Yeah.
And I find it fascinating as well that you've been able to get into like the blue zone. So if you could explain the difference between the blue zone and the green zone, that would be fantastic.
Sure. So the COP stands for Conference of Parties, and parties means signatories of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. The foundations for this convention have been laid at the Rio Earth Summit in 1992, where there has been the decision taken to have a convention to fight climate change, to combat the desertification, and another convention on biological diversity. And those countries that have signed it and ratified the framework convention, they are meeting at these COPs. And that's so. And this says already, it is an intergovernmental process. It's the whole UN operation system. It's about national governments meeting and national governments making decisions about these global affairs. There are entry points for non-state actors, and perhaps a little bit too complicated, but still important to know. The center of the UN is here in New York. UN General Assembly is the place, the highest decision-making body of the United Nations. Yeah, and there is possibility to for non-state actors, non-profit organizations to be accredited through the Economic and Social Council.
And when you say a non-state actor, you just mean anyone who isn't a politician?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So
Okay.
even cities or regional
Yeah,
governments,
so
they
rural
they have no
non-state
say in the General Assembly. And so the General Assembly is dealing with all matters, all SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. But for the SDG 13, for the climate topic, there is a specialized program, specialized process. It's the UNFCCC. And there you have to have there's an additional entry point. If you have accreditation here in New York to the UN, this doesn't help you to get into the UNFCCC and into the COP. So the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, they have a process and organizations which are not for profit, also universities, cities, NGOs in particular, they can apply for accreditation
and that's one of the questions that's just come in actually. How do I apply for accreditation to attend COP? Because when I attended COP, I just showed up. I just got on a train
Brave.
and I just walked up there and I showed up as an activist.
But
So-
you walked only till the fences of the blue zone.
I did. It's exactly what I did. I stood with the activists at the fences of the blue
Yes.
zone.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. And I saw all the politicians coming in their big cars and jetting out, etc.
Yeah.
Big planes,
And the big planes.
big footprints.
And so I also
Yeah.
stayed to the end when most of the politicians had left. But what I did discover was that there was a huge amount of fringe activity. So there was all these what they called actionists. So kind of activists sitting down with CEOs or people who'd worked in government before, exactly like what you're doing, Anne, trying to drive change and saying, do you know what? This is too important to leave in the hands of the politicians. What can I do?
Yes.
And I think this leads really nicely on Anne to exactly what you're doing, because you used to work with the Swedish government, right? And so these hackathons, maybe if you could explain what a hackathon is to anyone who isn't unsure.
Yes, a hackathon is a competition in innovation. So for a short period of time, 48 hours, you work in teams on a specific challenge. For the COP28, of course, it's a challenge connected to the climate. We have 8 climate change categories that you can choose from, and you work together with people from all over the world. Because I really believe, and the foundation, we really believe in diversity in teams, that if you come together from different perspectives, you can create really innovative solutions. And science also proves that this is true. If you have higher diversity in teams, they will become more innovative. So after
Can I just take a step, just
sorry.
pause on that for a second? So say that again, the more diversity that is in a team, the better the
Yes.
outcome, right?
Yes, science
And
proves this.
Science
Yes.
proves this. And this is why diversity, equity, and inclusion has everything to do with solving the climate crisis. Because the thinking that created the problem is not going to create the solution. It's like Einstein's quote, and it's so important we remember that. So we need to have different thinking, and I think that's what hackathons are doing, right? You're bringing different thinking together to try and solve a solution.
So just, I think you touched on this. It's also science proves that the human brain is most innovative up until 20 years of age.
Wow.
So if we could harness the ideas and the innovative thinking of youth who are under the age of 20 and bring it onto the arena for like COP28 and bring really great ideas, we have a great chance, I think, of actually doing anything about the immense challenges that we stand in front of. So that is what we try to do at the Hack for Earth Foundation with our global hackathon. So if you don't have the possibility to actually travel like you did to COP28, you can join our hackathon. But
and
yes,
I think,
yeah,
because that's one of the questions that's just come in saying, I can't go to COP, how do I get involved? So this
Yes.
is what you're saying, this is one way of getting involved,
you
right?
can definitely join our hackathon online. All you need is a passion for climate change, and you need a computer or access to a computer and Wi-Fi. That's what you need. And I think
And you
everybody
can see
listening
we
now
brought-
have that.
Yeah, we put it up here, Hack for Earth.
Perfect. So you join at hackforearth.com and you sign up there. And you, if you don't have a team, we will help you get with a team to hack on a challenge. And if you win in one of the 8 challenge categories, you will get to pitch to world leaders at the COP28 at our prize ceremony, which will take place in the UNFCCC Global Change Innovation Hub at the end of COP28. So this is your opportunity, I would say, to actually pitch to world leaders at the COP28 if you don't have the means to travel there.
And also, you know, Anne worked for the Swedish government where they were like working on these hackathons, and then you became a bit frustrated and you were like, actually, the solutions that are being created in these hackathons aren't being used, and that's why you set this up, right?
I worked for Hack for Sweden, which is a government initiative to create good solutions for the Swedish society. And each year, and the government of Sweden wanted me to organize this hackathon where we invited all of society to come hack on open data provided by Swedish government agencies. But, and of course, a great event, a lot of great ideas, but what I wasn't allowed to do by the Swedish government was to create an acceleration program afterwards to take care of the solutions. And then it's like, you have all these great solutions, and then you take them and you do this, and you throw them away, and you start it over again. And I said, this is crazy. We can't do this. And after a while, you just got to realize, do I want to do this, or want to do it myself?
Totally,
so,
and that's exactly what you were saying around changing the system. Do you know what I mean? So going, actually, this isn't working. I can see it's not working. How do we change the system and make change? And that's exactly what you're doing. So the hackathon is one great entry point. So, and anyone in the world can join.
Can I just say one small thing? Yeah, so that's why we have created an acceleration program called Build for Earth, that all of the winning solutions we take into, that is for 6 months online. And this is how we create real action on climate change. So several of the solutions from our previous global hackathons are now on the market. So that is one very concrete way that youth has created real action on climate change. That is in a very short time, because I also think that sometimes there's so much talking going on now. We need to talk like we do here. And I've been at the SDG Summit and met so many people this week. But we need to take action. This is our small way of contributing to actually taking action and showing that it can be done.
Absolutely.
In a very short time, we can actually do and create stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. And also one of the things that really helped me when I retrained in sustainability was finding your tribe, right? So finding people, because a lot of my friends and family were like, oh, someone else's job, nothing to do with me. Do you know what I mean? And they would kind of bring me down a bit. And so when you find your tribe of people who are also lifting you and supporting you and believing in the same things as you, everything changes. And it feels like that's in the hackathon as well, right? Like you're connecting with people who have the same thinking all over the world. And it's the joy of the time that we're in technology that we can do this. But let's talk about revolution love.
Well, finding your tribe is exactly, because once you find your passion and you share something, that's when your tribe starts to come along, and that, you know, 1 and 1 make 1,000. So yes, can I show one of the videos?
Perfect. Let's get up a video.
We don't just need one leader. We don't just need one leader. We don't just need one inspiration. What we badly need right now is that collective spirit. And I know that those young people, those hope carriers, are gathering around the world.
Sister, together we'll make it through. Oh, yeah. Someday our spirit will take you and guide
Keep
you
believing.
there.
Keep marching. Keep building. Keep raising your voice.
And I'll be there just helping you out whenever I can.
Every generation has the opportunity to remake the world.
Everybody's free. Oh, yeah. Oh, to feel good.
These are all sourced from the SDGs. So they're all attached to one or more of the SDGs, because the SDGs often like interface with each other. And we have many of these that we're like sending out into social media to pull people in. And when you come in to the platform, you learn about what this one, that's SDG, was that 16 or 17? I think it was partnerships, which is 17, which is the last one, although there are many of us that think there should be 18 and 19, maybe even 20. But, that's as time goes on, we begin to improve. Anyhow, that's just one of them. And then we have many others. And they're all just, they're just little messages that go out to educate, or some educate, some tell you times are tough. We try to stay positive, but sometimes you can't. Sometimes you have to like really show what's going on, make the invisible visible, because a lot of people out there in civil society kind of have no clue, really. I mean, we even still have the climate deniers. So anyway.
Absolutely. But isn't it amazing how a video can totally change your feeling, right? So that so changed my feeling of like, I can make change. And I think that's what Revolution Love is about, isn't it? It's
Yes.
about getting us out of fear, because it's so easy to be in that fear mindset of, oh, this isn't my problem. And do you know, or
It's
the
overwhelming.
economic crisis.
How can little me here or little you there in Chad or wherever make a shift on the planet? But together, and that's the thing. Once we unite together, we will make the impossible possible. We will shift this planet. And I have complete faith that we're going to do it. And you're going to do it.
Yeah.
All together, we're going to do it. I have to share this quote. I heard a wonderful quote the other night, and it said, and we don't know where this quote came from, but it said, "We are the generation that our future generations are waiting for." Mm-hmm. Now that kind of tells you that there is no time. And I'm in your generation and you're in my generation, because we are here on this planet. We were born at this time to lead everyone else through this transformative moment on Earth, to take the charge and to elevate everyone's consciousness, raise up and make that shift and become true stewards of the Earth.
Absolutely. I love that idea of like waking up, isn't it? Like that we kind of get to a higher level of consciousness, and that's the next level. And if we bring it down to practicalities, so you touched on like you have like the blue zone where all the politicians go, then you have the green zone, which is the idea is that it's open to everyone, that anyone can just show up and go into the green zone. That's the idea. That has not been my experience. So when I got to COP, it was nearly impossible to get into the green zone. It was like my mission just to get there. My understanding is that's changing for Dubai. So that's my understanding. Is that yours?
Yes, I would also share this understanding that the possibility to access the green zone will be significantly better, because the venue is the Expo 2020 Dubai Areal. And this is huge. They had millions of people there. So in terms of infrastructure, logistics, and so it's much easier to really accommodate huge numbers of people there. But still, the blue zone is the exclusive part. We've had the last year in Sharm el-Sheikh around 35,000 people in the blue zone. For COP21 in Paris, it was, I think, 45,000 or 42,000. And this year, the UAE government said they want to have 70,000. I don't know how they will manage. But then there is the blue zone, all the spaces from the expo pavilions where there will be concerts, innovation spaces, and everything. And so it should be easier to access, but it will be also some kind of capacity management. There will be probably the need to pre-register. So look at COP28.uae. Or UE is the domain where the presidency has the information about venues and access. There you can find it. Yeah.
And what were
Yeah,
you
I just
saying?
wanted to add the size of the venue where COP28 is happening. It's the size of a country. It's the size of Monaco.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they have space.
So there should be plenty of space for the green zone and also the blue zone. So if they're aiming for 70,000, I think that's probably definitely doable. That was the World Exhibition area back in 2021 for 6 months. And I was there with Hack for Earth, and I didn't manage to go all around it during these 6 months because it's so huge.
It's so big.
So you understand, this is a big venue. You should
Yeah.
definitely cover.
And they're still building it. They're still, when we were
They've
there.
added now space.
It's
Yes,
yeah.
I would definitely say if you can get to COP, I think it's worth showing up in person, right? So when I was there, one of the things that blew me away was the fact that there were so many school trips there, mainly from Europe. So from like schools in Sweden and Norway, this is what the schools were doing. They were like, instead of like, you know, these are wealthier countries, but instead of going skiing and doing a school ski trip, they were like, let's go to COP. And there's so much fringe activity like that. So
Yeah.
don't be afraid of going. If you can get yourself there, I think go. You know, obviously you have
Or
to
the
balance
carbon
that with flight,
footprint as well,
exactly,
yeah.
with the flight. But I personally think it will open your mind and it's worth trying to get there. Otherwise, there are so many other things you can do. So there's something called Extreme Hangout. So Extreme are really who helped me personally. And so they're very kind of permission giving. They're working with the UN now as well. And they will help you organize events locally and help you live stream in. And it's particularly for the youth as well.
And if I may add an information, so there are several organizations who are helping also young people with accreditations. Key
Great.
program is Yango,
Okay, how do you spell that?
YOUNGO,
So if
Yango.
we could bring that up, that would be great.
Yeah,
So we can see it on the screen.
It's this youth network. It's about 4,000 youth organizations and individuals that are working on this, and they are connecting young people from around the world with the UNFCCC process. They receive, I think, 50 accreditations from the UNFCCC process, which they can, as a process for applying. I'm not sure, perhaps it's too late already. There was the UAE government. They have a youth delegate program where they give accreditation and sponsorship to 100 young people from all around the world. There's the Global Youth Development Institute, Tim Damon, our friend. He has 10 accreditations and is usually organizing a call for applications. And this year we are also, my organization and the Climate Change Coalition, which is the world's leading network on how to use blockchain technology for climate. We are joining forces, and we will have 2 COP28 digital innovation youth delegates. So that Global Youth Development Institute will give the accreditations, and the Climate Change Coalition will give the funding for travel and accommodation there. And those who will be selected, they will be invited also to help us with our digital innovation pavilion. So it's not totally selfless, but
I also know that, that many countries, the country delegations going to the COP have youth delegates. I know Sweden has, and many European countries,
Austria
and several,
as well.
Austria as well, and many, I've heard, African countries as well, and also South American countries. Not all the members of the UN countries have youth delegates, but several have. I know Sweden has 2, but many countries have more than 2. So it's also a possibility to look into that. So is your country delegation, where you are from, having youth delegates going together? Because then they would take you with them, and you would be part of the actual negotiations taking place, you would be in the blue zone with the countries and listening in, and they would listen to your perspective. I just met with the Swedish youth delegates, and they told me they were in Bonn for the SB 58, and they're going to the COP28. So they're what their mission is to listen in and to give the countries' delegations, the commissioners, their perspective. Is this going well? I think that's really good that they're doing it, but every country should do it though.
Yeah. And for information, you go to the homepage unfccc.int, and then there is a tab about a process, and then you see parties, and there's a list of all countries and with the national focal points. And you could then just send them an email saying, I think I should be in your delegation.
And here's why.
I nominate myself. Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
And also there's in the process, there's then admitted observer organizations is again a list of all the organizations with email and names and emails. You can contact them. I'm receiving also as one of these accredited observer organizations emails on a regular basis for people asking to be included in the delegation, but you might have luck, especially with organizations in your country that might share accreditations.
And I'm also going to open it up to the floor now. So does anyone here in New York have any questions? We've had lots of questions come through online. Hello.
I don't have a question, but I'd just like to contribute to this conversation.
Perhaps you come and have the microphone here, because otherwise the people on the screen will not, you can have this one.
It's audible from all the room.
Okay, it's audible from all the room. Okay,
All
good.
right, cool. Another place you could get accreditation is through the universities.
Great idea.
A lot of young people are attending universities, and they have specific quotas every year. They change every year, different numbers, and I know it's kind of low this year. But check with your universities. So if they have a certain quota for maybe 10 students, then get your name in.
Yeah.
And they'll take it.
Perfect. That's a great route. And another
Thank you.
question here.
I have a question about the accelerator program. Is it exclusively for solutions that come from the hackathon or no?
Yes, the Build for Earth acceleration program is for the winners of our hackathons. But each year there are 7 to 8 winning teams, and this year there will be 8 teams. So yes, it's exclusive for them, but we try to help as many of the solutions who want to continue working, not to the same degree, out of like, it's just a limitation of money, to be honest. If we could, we would help everyone, but definitely we have had teams, we didn't win first prize, but we've supported in ways that we can. So it's all about, as I said, the acceleration program has everything from getting a business plan and getting best market fit and communication, creating your website, storytelling, how to create sustainability within your team, and financing, of course, how you get financing and partnerships. So it entails all the things that you need to get it. So I really encourage everyone to join the Hack for Earth hackathon at the COP28.
And I'll come back to questions in a second, but I'm just so glad that you could make it. So I did say at the beginning, we were hoping that Dan would be able to come, part of the COP28 presidency. So wonderful to have you here. So if you could introduce yourself, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, hi everyone. So sorry
Hi.
I'm late. Came straight from the UN General Assembly, so it was quite crazy. I'm Zan Northcote from the UK, but currently working in Dubai for the COP28 presidency. The UAE has tried to really fully re-envision youth engagement for the COP this year, starting from the top. So they appointed this new position, the Youth Climate Champion. So the first Youth Climate Champion this year is Her Excellency Shama Al-Masri. You might have heard of her. She was previously the Minister of State for Youth for the UAE. She's the youngest cabinet minister there's ever been in any country in history.
How old is she?
She's now 30
Yeah.
and also serving as Minister of Community Development,
Wow.
but has this additional hat as the Youth Climate Champion for the COP. So previous COPs has been, you know, maybe 1 or 2 people in the presidency working on youth. She's built an entire team and a whole sort of structure for youth engagement from the ground up, and for the whole UNFCCC process over the year. So yeah, I'm the project manager supporting Her Excellency and Youth Climate Champion team, and happy to talk more about what we're doing in youth engagement for COP.
And the questions that have been coming through have been kind of, you know, how do I get involved at COP? You know, I've explained that if you can travel, it is welcome. I think this COP's going to be quite different, where the green zone is going to kind of have more access, because I think in previous COPs that hasn't happened. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the sort of original heart of COP. It's an intergovernment negotiation. So that's happens in the blue zone. It's very limited, what we call badges or accreditations to get in there. You have to be part of a formal delegation of either a government or a UNFCCC accredited NGO. But as you say, yeah, there's the green zone as well, which is for all sort of non-state engagement. And previously that's been
Can I
quite
just stop you for a second as well?
Yeah.
Because now that I'm coming up to my 3rd COP, you know, it's that thing you always want to get into the area you can't get into. It's like a VIP area in a club. Like, that's what I want to get into. Now I've realised I actually don't want to be in the blue zone. You know what? Like, when you listen to what's happening and what they're saying in the blue zone, you can just watch the screen. I'm not that interested in the blue zone. I'm interested in the fringe elements and the green zone and what we're going to bring to it. Do you know what I mean? I'm really not interested in the blue zone. So I think let's leave them to, as we say, it's too important to leave in the hands of the politicians.
Well, that's where you find your tribe. That's where you see the innovation. A lot of the indigenous groups go there, and it's so moving, and they have a lot of fun there too. Yeah.
No, and more so than ever this year. I mean, yeah, if you really want to go down the route of sort of diplomacy and sort of international climate law negotiation, then that's the space you want to try to get into. But the UAE's sort of recognized from the beginning this year that the negotiations can only deliver so much. It's 197 countries trying to reach consensus on very technical points. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't. But that's sort of out of anyone's hands, really. Yeah, we hope we'll get a good result there, but you never quite know. But they've said from the beginning, this COP needs to go beyond that. It's not enough just to sort of hope this sort of really intense, hectic negotiation process works out. So they have a huge sort of non-negotiated item, action agenda. If you look on the COP website, you'll see the different thematic days they've brought in. Climate and health is coming to the picture for the first time, climate and peace and security. They're pushing for a huge deal on expansion of renewable energy. For what's traditionally the Youth Day, this year we've made it the Youth, Children, Education and Skills Day. Huge amounts that we're going to try and do to sort of support green skills and jobs for young people, connecting youth with potential resources or funders. Huge amounts happening around climate education. And yeah, a lot of that will be happening in the green zone. And this year, the blue and green zone are actually on the same site, the Expo City in Dubai, which has never happened. And it's a beautiful, I don't know if anyone got the chance to go to Expo, it's a state-of-the-art site.
Beautiful. Yes, it's lovely.
And yeah, so just to quickly mention, there's going to be a youth hub in the green zone for the first time. So that's going to be a full
extreme hangout as well? Like the extreme guys
they're doing a whole sort of agenda of their own, but no, the youth hub, this will be as a presidency-led initiative. Various things going in there. You can actually make an application to host a session in the green zone youth hub.
Can we put that up on the screen as well? So what's the link? Is there a we'll send it out.
I'll get it to you. I'll send it to you.
If you can put extreme hangout, because I know that they're going to be in the green zone as well, and they're all for the youth as well. So I'm going to reopen it to the floor. Any other questions? I'm going to start with you first.
Hi everyone. Thank you for the question. I'm from Ghana. My name is Joanna.
Welcome.
And I'm happy she mentioned the Expo because I was at the Expo and I really love youth engagement activities. So sometimes I do the funding myself just to educate myself and all that. But unfortunately, I tried to get into COP28. That didn't work. My country, I don't think they have a section for the youth to take in this. So I was really happy, she brought it because we in my country feel like we need to hold our governments accountable because they represent us. So that is what we push for. That is what most of my friends push for. And so we go for COP28 every time, and then our country comes back with no information. You just have to go either on the COP28 site to read about it yourself, or get some youth engagement, ongoing, so that you can join it and have a discussion on it. Part of what I do is to write articles and columns in the newspaper, and engagements going on around the world. So I do the funding myself. So I was really happy when, she brought in the President Obama, because I am a benefit of Obama's initiative, Young African Leadership Initiative. So how do we, young people from Africa, I'm sure most of the African people here will share the same sentiment with me, get the opportunity to participate in COP28? Some of us can fund it, some of us cannot. And I'm happy you shared some, of the website. Sometimes you go on the website and then you try to register, you try to, be a part of it, and then it sends you back to, you need to get to your government to,
You go around in circles.
you go around in
Yeah,
circles.
I've been there.
You go around in circles. So I would really appreciate if people from my side really have like a space that they could be actively involved in issues around the world, in activities of COP28. We would really appreciate it if we are involved in it. Also, I feel like whenever there is COP28, so those going, if you can really put that across to us, there's discussions, but what are the ways to implement it? How do we follow the implementation process before the next COP28? Or sorry, before the next COP? Because then we sit in the four corners of the room talking, and then we leave the implementation process, we don't follow up, and then we wait for the next COP. How do we hold leaders? Because they come and represent us. So how do we hold them responsible for the implementation process and the innovative process? So if you go in, I think it will be really, really great to ask these questions for us. Thank you.
Is there anyone you'd like to direct that to? Does anyone want to take it? Yeah, I can give that a.
Yes, good question.
Which country are you from?
Ghana.
Ghana? Okay. Some of the best youth engaged in COP are from Ghana. I don't know if you know the Green Africa Youth Organization based out of Ghana, doing amazing work helping young people get to COP. Would be happy to connect you. But a few things we're doing on this. First of all, Her Excellency Shama, the youth champion, she got the COP president, and Simon Steele, the head of UN climate change, Jathma, the UN youth envoy, all to sign a joint letter saying that every single country should be bringing youth in their official delegations to the COP this year. And that's something we're repeating over and over again, that every country, shouldn't just have some tokenistic sort of youth speeches here and there. They should actually train up and get youth on their negotiating teams. So we're starting to see that to different success in different countries. But yeah, that's one thing we're trying to make happen. But you rightly say there is a huge cost. Another program we've done this year is our International Youth Climate Delegate Program. So we've actually given full funding for 100 youth from severely climate impacted communities to come to the COP. I think 36 were funding from Africa. And not just funding, we're actually giving an extremely robust training program over the year to educate them about how negotiations work, so that some of those underrepresented communities have a stronger voice there. You should also take a look. There's the Youth Observer Constituency platform. So UNFCCC, as well as governments, there's 9 civil society constituencies which can engage in a formal way. The youth constituency is called Youngo, and they have last year they started a campaign called the Africa Youth Mobilization for COP campaign, which specifically fundraises to help African youth go to the COP. And they also recently in Nairobi hosted these sort of pre-COP youth conferences happen, called local conferences of youth or regional conferences of youth, to build sort of regional level statements to submit into the negotiations. And they recently had the Africa Conference of Youth in Nairobi. And even if you can't go to these things in person, those policy statements are done in a sort of consultative way online, so you can sort of feed in that way. But again, happy to share all these resources afterwards.
Perfect, thank you. And we have another question here.
Yes, awesome.
First of all, thank you all for sharing. My name is Lin Shin. I'm Minna born, and this year I serve as a curator of Global Shipping Company at Cambridge, Massachusetts. So my question is, because it is hosted in Dubai, right, UAE, it's very interesting choice of the country as we see, different countries are hosting it. So I wonder that what would be the implications for the youth when it comes to, like the country that is going to host the COP. For example, would the local UAE government offer some like special resources or programs where the young people can look into and kind of intertwine the interest with a local development that would kind of boost the collaboration, would boost the chance to attend the COP. And in addition, which also combined it with the Swedish ladies like hackathon program. What would be the sustainability of all these programs? For example, when they get into the accelerator, pitch the leaders, are these young leaders also get a chance to shift the agenda of, let's say, the policy or the kind of practices like after the conference? So it would be really nice to hear about the perspectives regarding these two different kind of perspectives.
Do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, I think the UAE is a very interesting host country for the COP. It's a country that is only just over 50 years old. And in that time, it's gone from a mostly empty patch of coastal desert into the #1 city in the world for international tourism. And it's been amazing for me to I didn't know what I was going to think of it, honestly, but it's quite incredible what they've managed to build there. It's very safe, it's very efficient, it's very multicultural. In Dubai, it's about an 87% immigrant population. So people from all countries, all faiths, it's a huge melting pot. And that has also led the UAE to be quite neutral in the diplomatic space. They engage with Western countries, but they also engage with China, with Saudi Arabia, with India. So I think the UAE has a chance at getting some bigger movement in the negotiations this year. And yeah, I think, the expo site at peak times was having 100,000 people coming in a day. So I think it's logistically, the UAE is quite sort of well prepared to handle it. And it's been exciting. It's been a good chance to sort of engage youth more in the MENA region. I mentioned those local conferences of youth, the sort of pre-COP youth conferences that happen. Only 7 Arab states countries had ever done one in the past. And this year we've managed to get it up to all 23 Arab states countries having a pre-COP youth conference. And we're working with the Arab Youth Center to give climate training to 7,000 youth across the MENA region. So it's nice to see, you'll get to see a sort of real flourishing of the youth movement in MENA region, where it's been very quiet in the past, but also, hope you get to come and see Dubai and enjoy the experience.
Can I ask a question? Because I'm sorry, I don't recall your name, the lady from Chad.
Ghana.
I'm Ghana. Sorry.
From Ghana, sorry. You asked, how does a youth hold their country and their leaders accountable? Because when they leave COP, they make agreements. They stand up, they say, we'll do this, we won't do that. And it's kind of often very volatile. Is that published for them to know what they've agreed to so that they can do that? Because that's, I think, a very important point.
Yeah, no, thank you for reminding that point. COP it makes these huge international agreements, but then, to be completely frank, there's not very strong mechanisms to really ensure that's delivered. So getting the deal at COP is just the first part of the work. It then needs to be implemented. But really youth and civil society in general need to take that upon themselves a little bit to sort of follow the process and to try to hold their governments accountable. That's something, we can help try to do as presidency, but I also really encourage get involved in the process, see what is in the agreement, and when you have conferences back home or you have any chance to meet your government, you can specifically reference, this was agreed at COP by every country, including our own. Why isn't it happening?
Absolutely. That's key, isn't it?
How do they see the agreement? I'm sorry, I really kind of want to understand, because I think it's really important.
It's all online. It's all on the
Okay.
UNFCCC website.
And there's also a climate action tracker homepage where
it's a
it's
great
scoreboard
resource.
somehow, dashboard.
What was it called?
Climate Action Tracker.
Okay, we have time for one more question, which is this gentleman here at the back.
Thank you very much for the wonderful session. This is Saad Sentinel from Pakistan. I'm the founder and CEO of the Institute of Management and Innovation. We know it's known as the TIME. Recently, we have assigned MOU with the schools, and we are going to engage 2.5 million children for the climate change. So my question is that, of course, we'll be facing a lot of, problems in terms of the resources. So how can we get connected with the resources there? Because young people mostly, they take action, but ultimately we face the issue, the financial sources, with the human sources. We do not have the technical team who can get connected with the community. So my idea is that we are directly connected with the community and the children, which are the future, which are the present. So how can we get connected with the resources to engage these people, these young children? Thank you.
If I may, so we are working on it, but it's a very big systemic challenge because there are several things. One thing is how do you document what this young person or the community on the local level is doing and how it is relevant for implementation of global goals. For this, we have to have a reporting framework, impact assessment framework, and we need to have digital tools where we then have the possibility to have digital measurement, reporting, and verification or social proof. This kind of ecosystem we are now building with Glotcha and with this digital innovation framework. We have had last week a conference at the UN headquarters where we have presented our solutions. One part is an individual SDGs and climate action dashboard app, and another one is a local pact for the future platform. And the key is that we need this kind of tools that we connect information about local action with global resources. And then we need to grow also the global resources. And for this, we have the framework of individual voluntary carbon footprint compensation payments. It's some kind of global tax, which we are trying to organize in partnership with cities. And so we need two sides, more global resources, and the national governments will not give it because national governments are in a systemic structural crisis with budgets being totally stressed. We need to mobilize financial resources from individuals who care, who want to compensate also their carbon footprint. And we need the tools that it's really impact focused action that is supported on the ground. And it's a systemic effort. And with Glotcha, we are trying to lead this.
Okay, fantastic.
Yes. Did you have 2 million students? Did you say that?
Yes.
Yeah.
2.5.
Have them all join the Hack for Earth hackathon at COP28. Create real action on climate change. I'm not kidding you. We had at the COP27 Hack for Earth hackathon, we had participants from 125 countries. So hopefully we will have more countries than that represented in this year's hackathon at COP28. So looking forward. Hackforearth.com. Let them all sign
And
up.
Glotcha is a partner.
Yes, of course we're partnering. We'll be there together at
I would
COP28.
appreciate if the audience can share the link.
Yes, absolutely. We'll put the link up. And what were you going to add?
Well, I was right, it's a systemic issue, and some really interesting research was done last year analyzing global climate philanthropy, and it found that of all global climate philanthropy, only 0.76% goes to youth.
Wow.
And
Say that again.
0.76%. And all of that 0.76%,
Wow.
almost all of it is in Europe or the USA. So the youth climate philanthropy going to the global south is almost close to 0%, which is a huge injustice, but and a huge missed opportunity. I mean, I've seen so many youth projects where they need sort of 50,000 to sort of do transformational work,
Right.
and they just can't do it.
Yeah.
So one of our other projects for the COP is we're actually getting all philanthropies together, and on the COP Finance Day, we're going to try to launch a new global target for youth climate philanthropy. And also recommend you to
Yeah.
look into a really interesting new fund has set up called the Youth Climate Justice Fund. They specifically were designed to give small grants to youth, unrestricted funding that can be sort of easily transferred. And I think they're open for applications now, so take a look at
So we're going
that.
to put that up as well.
We're partnering with them
Like
on that
that.
big project. Yeah. So I also, I forgot to answer before, someone asked about how we sort of institutionalize this work that's happening. One thing we're also trying to get done this year is to institutionalize this new youth climate champion role and portfolio and structure that we've built. So for future COPs, there'll actually be a sort of consistent place to go to get resources and get the information you need, instead of sort of reinventing the youth wheel a COP every time. So hopefully we can get something sorted for the long term this COP as well.
And I would just like any thoughts from you as well.
Thank you very much. My question will be short, but first of all, I want to appreciate Zan and the other speakers. I'm an infectious disease epidemiologist, global security consultant. The first thing is that I'm happy that climate change and health is being considered. And one thing I want to indicate here is that many youths have been advocating, I've been a youth advocate for so long, I engaged with them. If you ask them simple questions about what climate change really means and how it affects health, you'll be surprised that many people know. So the key thing is about creating that awareness. What are the youth saying? I have this engagement with the African Public Health Student Network Initiative, about 300 of them. You go online, you're just like asking, what do you think about climate change? And they don't even have the consent, they don't know. So I think there should be more emphasis on the fact that that awareness should be created. And also opportunities like you mentioned, you've answered a lot of questions that I would have loved to ask. And I'm very happy that, we're already moving forward towards that. Thank you.
And I think this ends us perfectly, right? Because we're about to close. So what's the final piece of advice in 30 seconds? What's the final piece of advice you want to leave our audience with? And I'll let you kick us off.
I think it's been a great discussion here. And what I'm taking with me is the focus on action. And the suggestions you all had for actually taking action, going to COP or engaging in COP in some other ways. Because you are the ones, the youth, that we need to really do that. And you have also the power to do it. I truly believe that. And of course, one way to do that is to join the Hack for Earth hackathon at COP28. So please do that. I would love to see all of you there.
Fantastic.
My message, don't lose hope. Climate anxiety is a big thing. I also had my crisis this year when I heard about this North Atlantic Sea surface temperature anomalies. I thought, okay, wow. And really depressing sometimes, but don't lose hope. Let's co-create our future. A better world is possible. We are unstoppable.
Yes, I mean, perfect. We are unstoppable. He's absolutely right. And Revolution Love is where you can build awareness, where you can find out what climate change does, what the health does to people. So that's why we're putting out there the education to civil society, not way up here talking to the scientists, because scientists talk to each other, but to people, heart to heart. Find out. The more we find out, the more action we can take, and that's what we need to do. So.
Yeah, well, hope to see all of you in Dubai. It's gonna be, this COP is full of opportunity. It's big. COP is quite intimidating. There's huge amounts of different things going on. Try to find what would your specific purpose be. Choose a topic you want to focus on. Do you want to get some negotiations? Do you want to get some funding? Do some fundraising? Do you want to build partnerships? Whatever it might be, make your game plan, because it's huge. There's going to be 80,000 people, quite overwhelming. But yeah, what I would say, anything you want to achieve in the climate space, the UAE and this COP in particular, there's going to be massive opportunity. So yeah, seize the moment.
And that's it. Thank you so much for our meeting.
Thank you.
And you were incredible, and to the audience for all their fantastic questions. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can finish with a video while we're turning over.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Okay. They are in the brands video section.
Bring
Which
the
one?
birdies back.
You still have 1 minute.
Okay.
Okay, we have 1 minute there, but I don't The birds are not there.
The birdies aren't there, well, whatever is there.
The trees are
Oh, the
there.
trees, yes, from the front lines.
Let's build the tower.
Oh, okay.
Pushing down on me, pressing down on you. No man has fall. Under pressure, the things you building down, streets of family in two, puts people on streets. Caring about ourselves, this is our last dance. This is our last dance. This is ourselves. Under pressure. Under pressure. Pressure.